Please, take a seat here.
30 Wings of Change, Mr. Vundla and Clement, take one.
I was able to hit the spot with the audience who wanted to see themselves.
There are certain things you explored in Generations that at the time everybody was like, whoa. That scandal when you fired some actors was huge.
Got to a point that, like we can't work together. The world had fallen under me and I was absolutely devastated.
Mr. Mfundi, thank you for welcoming us to your home.
Yeah.
It's incredible to see you. I'm happy to see you doing so well because I know there was a bit of a scare in 2022 when you were diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
And here you are, you're looking strong.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
How has it been?
It's amazing where,
How has
medical
the
science advancement and that kind of thing. And no, I feel fine.
You feel fine?
Yeah.
When you get to a moment where you are told those news, you are diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we fear.
That's absolutely devastating.
How did you receive those news?
I was absolutely devastated.
You didn't expect it?
No. It came out of the ball from the blue. I knew there was something wrong with me, and I was told, but what it was, and that was like the world had, the foundations, the world had fallen under me, and confused, angry, and why me? All those kind of questions. What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to my productions? All that sort of thing. Yeah.
Do you reflect as well? I mean, when you are told with those news, do you think, because the possibility is there that you could, in fact, not make it?
Yeah.
Do you then are confronted with your own mortality and you think, have I done enough? Have I fulfilled my purpose on this earth? When you were reflecting on that, what was the answer for you?
I was reflecting on the question, for instance, of fulfilling my purpose in life. I was during treatment, I obtained psychological assistance, and I used to tell this psychologist that I fear I'm going to leave a lot of things unfinished, and then I also fear that I will not be able to begin projects that I wanted to do, and so the fear of unfulfillment, of leaving things undone, and that sort of thing. That's a serious fear. It's and then also comes after the treatment. Like after you're told that you cured now and that kind of thing, but you have the post-traumatic stress. As to, is this cancer going to come back? Is that sort of thing.
I guess there's no doubt that as you reflect on that, you also think about things that you have done that have impacted people, and I think Generations is one of those things that you have worked on that have had a major impact. So in that moment when you are confronted with that mortality and you're asking yourself, have I fulfilled my dreams, my plans, and you look at specifically that project, what do you think? Do you think, actually, I've gifted this nation something, this world something?
No, yeah, with Generations, it's like I gifted this world, but Generations was also a gift to me, because the thing is that it would never have happened. It's a product of our democracy, and then I was able to hit the spot with the audience, who wanted to see wanted to see themselves, and how they wanted to see themselves. It was a black gaze on a black populace, if you see what I mean.
Kunento kufuna ukuyicelebrate. Sebaqedile ngama-office ethu. Cishe sesilungela ukumuva in. So I know as an Azweni man, awunandaba. But as my man, I was hoping you'd share the moment with me.
It's almost like you predicted the emergence of the middle class. So you had been in the US.
Yeah.
You're coming back to South Africa. It's the early 90s.
Right.
The country is completely different, but there are still tensions. The IFP, the ANC, everybody is anxious because the country, we don't know where things are going to go. So when you are given the project, we need a soapy, you could have written Generations, because activism was a thing at the time. Why did you and how did you go about coming up with a project like this?
What happened was, when I came back, I latched on to people who were seeing the new order, if you see what I mean. And so, for example, my brother and his colleagues were starting the first black advertising agency. So I was like a groupie in there. And so when it came time to pitch for the show, I used the advertising world as the base for the narrative, if you see what I mean. And also, when I walked into the SABC, the guy said that I want you to write a soapy for CCV TV. And then, Clement, I'd never written a soap in my life.
You didn't know anything about soaps?
I didn't know anything about soaps. I knew more about hardcore cop dramas and that sort of thing, movie thrillers, and that's what I thought I wanted to do. But the opportunity presented itself, and then I had my wife Federal Express me books on how to write soaps.
Did you watch
And I watched a lot of soaps.
Bold and the Beautiful?
Oh, Bold and the Beautiful, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Egoli. I watched those. I watched to study the structure, characters, and that sort of thing. It was good for me to study them. I was already a writer, so I understood the structure of the soap. And then when it came to pitch, it was like I was ready. One time I was at a seminar and this woman from Tata stood up and said, I didn't know what an MD of a company was until I watched Generations. People would say things like, Generations taught me how to decorate my house.
Was there no resistance to what you had written? Because when you were writing Generations, how we saw it was very aspirational. We saw ourselves, I think for the first time, probably we saw black people as beautiful, as inspirational, as successful.
Maybe I was wrong. Too hasty.
Can we put that behind us then?
Please.
The old SABC at the time, how did they buy into that project that portrays, and yes, the wind of change was coming.
Right.
Because it was, 92, 93, but were they not a little resistant to
No. The people who were resistant were the black commissioning editors, the ones I found there. But the people who, so Generations was kind of commissioned over their heads by a forward-looking Afrikaner guy called Quentin Green. And when they woke up, we had already shot 2 episodes, and which they had to approve, these commissioning editors. And we went to a meeting with one of them, and he was so angry, and he said he had watched our episode, and it was anti-African, it was this, it was immoral, it was this, and he had written a recommendation that it not be screened.
Those are the people you were supposed to count on their support.
Yeah, but they felt threatened by the entry of I was in the new wave, you see. I mean, they had worked for apartheid TV and that sort of thing, and I was like, the new. I was just the beginning of new things to come. Yeah.
You said earlier, Generations was a gift to you, but it was also a gift to South Africans. What kind of a gift do you think it was to South Africans? What do you think you were able to give through that project to this country?
Well, first off, I mean, it was an aspirational show that, there's a new world coming, and, that sort of thing, the opportunities which are coming, and which we must get ready to grab with both hands. And the advertising world was just a metaphor for the variety of changes coming and that sort of thing. And that also the gift, I mean, it was a reality, but the whole thing of having a soap that is multilingual, like that people could talk to each other in Setswana and Zulu, that kind of thing, and the multilingualism of it all. I thought that's something I'm really proud of. And like at one time I was at a seminar in somewhere and this woman from Tata stood up and said, I didn't know what an MD of a company was until I watched Generations. And then the more we did research and stuff, people would say things like, Generations taught me how to decorate my house. Generations, I want my daughter to be like Garaba Moroka. I want my daughter to be this. So there were all these new world type people who were aspirational, who were coming through the screens of African households throughout the country. And that's
I mean, social etiquette was another thing. We didn't know that when you pour a juice, you mustn't feel the glass. Because back at home, you're just feeling the glass. And on Generations, we saw that actually the most decent way.
There were things like that. We also used to joke things like, for instance, I remember one scene, this guy was drinking a very expensive cognac, right? And he was mixing it with Coke, right? And then there was a line in there, it says, how do you mix something which took years or maybe even a decade to make with something which was done like overnight? How do you mix it? It doesn't make sense. I mean, we should do things like that. So play around with things like that. I mean, that's snobbishness. I mean, because you enjoy a drink any way you want. I mean, there's no there's no textbook way of enjoying a cognac. I mean,
Where did you draw from? Because you need to draw from something, and I understand with the advertising agency being the center almost of the kind of opportunities that exist, is because you had the influence of your brother who was in that space. They had started a first black advertising company and you were somehow with them involved. But the stuff about cognac, for instance, were you drawing from your own personal experience? I mean, fashion.
No. I was not drawing. I was not at that level. I was not drinking cognacs and things like that. What? When we grew, I was talking to a friend of mine. Like this is sometimes you grow up in a family, but the people who influence you as to what you want to be are usually outside of the family. You see them, he says, oh, that's Dr. Sbanbani, that's lawyer Sbanbani, and that kind of thing. And then you look towards them, you want to be like them. You know what I mean? So when I was growing up, right, I mean, there were pioneer business people who, had it not been for apartheid, they would be like Johan Rupert, really. They would be like Dippenaar and all those big white billionaires, people like, Ben Mabuza, the grandfather to Felicia Mabuza Saddle. There were people like Paul Mosaka, who spoke impeccable English, plus was also a very talented, a savvy business person. And there were a whole number of them who were blocked, but clearly had the talent for business. So I looked at those individuals as inspiration to say that, we have a period in our history now where we can take those dreams of those individuals, make them our own, and move forward.
And once Generation really kicked off and you started seeing the kind of influence it has on South Africans, just on the social life, I mean, as the creator of this project, are you feeling fulfilled? Are you feeling?
Oh, absolutely, man, absolutely. You know what? Okay, I have a middle class kind of following of Generations, right? But man, what the working class following is huge, and I realized that I've made a serious impact in the working class world, and that's it. That's where the fulfillment really, for me, comes in.
Because you show them what is possible.
Yes. I did.
And many
I'm so full. That fulfills me. Like, I mean, that I kind of achieved my mission. In getting a kid from Umtata, somebody from the Eastern Cape or from Doyando or the Northwest, or being inspired that what, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this. I opened up people's minds.
I feel like you were ahead of your time, because there are certain things you explored in Generations that at the time everybody was like, whoa, did he just go there? I mean, I think of Jason and the gay characters that you have.
Yeah.
If you were awake when I got home last night, I'm going to tell you.
Are you angry because I fell asleep?
No. I'm angry because... Let's go.
I'm not in the mood for this.
In the homes, that started a conversation that has not been there in our homes for the longest time. And I imagine that level of representation helped, because also you want people to see themselves in the production that you have, right? What impact do you think that had, introducing these gay characters during a time when it wasn't fashionable to do that?
Exactly. And the response, the response was amazing. There was no homophobic response. There was no church people writing to the SABC saying, you stop that storyline because it's unchristian. There was nothing of the kind, and but I remember at one time, we were in a meeting with some Generations executives, and they were talking about sales of Generations, and there was one guy whose mission it was to sell Generations to African countries. And then he said that, that gay storyline is making it difficult for him to sell Generations. And I said, look, man, I don't care. I'm writing for my people here in South Africa. I'm not writing for guys in Uganda, but I'm writing about my reality. So the fact that that's not my problem. Sorry that you can't sell it, but my audience here is South African, and I'm writing for them.
How often do you go on set on Generations?
I used to be there every day. I was pretty hardcore then. I fired a lot of people.
You were quite strategic, I thought, as well, even in how you represented those gay characters. Because the easy way to do it is to follow the stereotypes and bring in someone who may be considered, oh, look, this person looks like a woman, or you dressed them in a particular way. I mean, you brought in two guys.
Yeah.
And you said, actually, these are guys and this is their sexuality. It doesn't define them.
Yeah. But then also I didn't go far enough, though, Clement. I didn't go far enough in terms of representation, because those were straight guys playing gay people. You know what I'm saying? So that's so I didn't go far enough in that respect, you know. And much later, we had trans characters and that sort of thing. And I have friends of mine, like, I'm close to the photographer, Zanele Muholi, who said to me, like, okay, fine, Mfundi, you do those things, but you get lesbians to play lesbians. You know.
Now, I want you to take us back to your upbringing, because these things have a root with where you come from. Your dad was politically active. You were politically active yourself. Your brother was conscious as well. Was there even an option at the time, living in South Africa as a black person, not to be politically conscious? I mean, growing up in Dube, in Soweto.
Oh yeah, well, there was an option not to be politically conscious. I mean, there are people who, you know, whilst other people were throwing stones, they stayed in their yard. They were not with other kids who were throwing stones. You know, so they stayed in their yard, not to get, you know, into trouble. I mean, and at university, there were people who just didn't want to be involved, and that sort of thing.
Why did you do it? Why were you involved? What drove you?
No, what drove me was, you know, I mean, I guess learning about the profound sense of injustice that apartheid was, and from my father and from my father's friends, and you know, who were active, you know, against the mass removals of Town and that sort of thing. So I grew up in a political home, so it was kind of inevitable that I was going to head in the same direction. My moral convictions drove me in that direction. I mean, I had no choice, really, and the system was trying to deprive me of who I am and what I wanted to be. So I said, nobody's gonna, you know. But as growing up, so the obstacles that were in the way of who I was and what I wanted to be. I mean, they were so strong that, you know, I just had to resist them.
How did you reflect that political consciousness in generations?
Well, you do it in another way, because I mean, the whole thing about being aspirational, of changing your life for the better, is the same thing, isn't it? I mean, like, I fought for things to be better for myself and for my people, and so that's sort of an extension in an entertainment sort of way.
But I like that, because it's also some kind of a fight back, so to speak. I think I've heard you speak in the past about how your father used to say, you know, sometimes you've got to take the power. It's never going to be given to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
And even with generations, it's almost like, well, this is a new South Africa. And yes, as black people, we've not been beautiful, we've not been successful because of, we were suppressed by the legislation. But here we are, and we're going to make the most out of our lives, and we're going to achieve. Did you feel that was a kind of, we're here to tell our story and we're here to be and occupy the space unapologetically?
Yeah, yes, that was completely unapologetic. And then I remember it unsettled some people, but it unsettled white people. And I thought, no, I mean, all I found was, you know, complete support from my community.
Do you think that when you look at the creative space today, and even film and the television industry, there's intentionality around the content that is being produced? I mean, I don't know, do you still watch local productions? And what are your reflections on?
I do watch local productions. You know, I've watched the pre-colonial series Shaka Zulu, and I've watched some of the crime dramas we have, and I watched what my competition is up to, and that sort of thing. Yeah, I do, and then I also watch what the new players are doing who come in, like the Netflix, and I've got opinions on them.
What's your opinion?
Which are not positive.
Tell me about
and
it.
I think Netflix is taking our industry backwards. Even the quality of stuff they're doing is like apartheid TV, kind of backward TV, bad in production values, scripts badly written. Sometimes it looks nice, but you can tell that they could have spent 3 more months refining those scripts. So you find that kind of nonsense in some of these Netflix productions.
What do you think the problem is? Are we talking low budget? Are we talking
no
a platform that just wants a quick turnaround? Give us whatever is there to populate.
I don't know how many people in the Netflix team know television. And number one, they're not even in Africa. They're sitting out there in Amsterdam. And then the first thing that was done by Netflix, called Queen Sono, was done by a comedian. It was a comedian. And we have tons of TV producers here, and that kind of, all of us producers and writers will say, what the hell is this, And but just to go back to my point is that I think Netflix has taken us backwards rather than forwards. I think people like Showmax and the SABC and what's happening on ETV, I think those are the people who are really concerned about quality in this country.
Okay, what does that mean though for the future? Because the future is platforms like Netflix. I mean, if you look at the competition, even from DSTV, from the SABC, now you've got Disney Plus, you've got Amazon Prime. There are many platforms that are coming that are digital where you can watch the content. So it's looked like that's where we headed, and I'm a little worried that if that's the standard that is being set, as you articulate, are we now going to be exposed to content that is not strong enough?
Our own streaming platforms have to take the battle to them.
Okay.
Our own streaming platforms have to take battle to the Netflix for Netflix to realize that what they're doing is not on. So in this regard, like the Showmax people, like that as a streaming service, they better check up their quality levels, and I think they can take the battle and succeed. I mean, Showmax is doing better than Netflix in the continent of Africa. So yeah, we know they are only gonna get better if their poor quality work is challenged by better quality.
But are South African channels, even like say Showmax, willing to pay to produce? And you're saying they're doing better than Netflix on the continent. Do you find that actually local productions are funded well? Like, are we putting money to produce good content?
We could do better. And like for instance, I've never worked at Mzansi, right? But I'm told some of the budgets there are ridiculous. But I've never worked there. So, but I'm just told by associates. But be that as it may, people are working, people are sharpening their skills, and that sort of thing. So it bodes well for the future. Look, I was telling Legend that this is the first time I see a black crew here, and it's quite something, And I do not know what is the background of the people in the crew, but I suspect television for some of them is there. And I remember, I did a feature film with Juliette Binoche and Samuel L. Jackson called Country of My Skull, and Samuel Jackson had an assistant who said something to the effect, this is the first time I see so many black people on a movie set, including a Spike Lee movie. And he's here in South Africa, in Cape Town. We're shooting this Country of My Skull. So, so whether you're in Mzansi, whether you're in Generations, whether you're in Showmax, hang on in tough there, learn as much as you can. It will pay off,
How did you change that when you came into the industry and there's just the more white people even in the production of your project? How intentional were you about bringing in black people? Because the skills, this kind of industry was beginning to be attractive to black people. It was a possibility. So the skills were there.
Well, there were a number of us. There were a number of us, we had a new producers organization called the Independent Producers Organization, where there were a lot of us black producers who were pushing hard. So wherever we were, and so that how do you produce a soap like Generations and you 90% of your staff is white,
Can work.
It'll never work.
Yeah.
It will be a cockeyed vision of our culture. Like it did with apartheid TV.
Yeah.
It's cockeyed, and
how often do you go on set on Generations?
not much anymore.
But when you go,
But I used to be there every day.
yeah.
I used to be there every day, and I was pretty hard. I was pretty hardcore then.
Tell me, how hardcore were you? What would you do when you arrive on set?
Well, I would, for example, I would go on set and an actor would not know their lines, and I would go down to the floor and tell them that
They're fired?
I'll fire your ass.
I can only imagine the pressure.
No, these are not empty threats, They
were not. It did happen.
I fired a lot of people.
So in 2014,
But nobody. The thing is, let me just finish this.
Yeah.
When you do something that's your pride and joy, and its value, you can't allow people just come in and
must embody that.
No.
Yeah. That scandal when you fired some actors was huge, and
But to a point that we can't work together.
In 2014, we saw the last episode of Generations, the old generation as we know it.
Yeah.
What did that moment mean for you? Because, that scandal when you fired some actors was huge, and a lot of people
It was not a scandal.
What should I call it? That incident.
That incident.
That incident was huge to a lot of families who felt generation is part of our life, and I suppose the fear was, is it still going to be that relatable to us without these people we grow up watching?
Yeah.
What did it mean to you, that incident when it happened, and watching the last episode of Generations as we knew it, the old one?
Right now, my view was that we can rebuild it again, and we did.
How was it difficult to have the new generations, the legacy take off in the beginning?
Well, actually, what happened was when the biggest audience that Generations had was the first episodes of the new one. The first episode of of the Generations, the Legacy, we had 10 million viewers. That's fucking huge. But of course, when
It started going down.
it started going down. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Because obviously, any project that you do, there's always going to be a huge interest in the
No,
beginning.
it started going down, but stabilized.
They stabilized.
Yeah, going down, but stabilized because,
Okay.
you know.
So, Babu Vundla, you know how to build relationships. I think when you started Generations, you had a core of actors that you had built relationships with. I mean, I know that there are some actors that you had helped even with their medical bills when they were sick on Generations. When an incident like that happens where there are disagreements between you and the cast and the people you have regarded as friends, as a family, and you have to take the decision of there is no working relationship anymore, is that a difficult thing?
You know, of course it is. It's a difficult thing. I mean, you know, it didn't just happen because, you know, you were just. If it finally got to a point that, you know, like, we can't work together, you know, and then, you know, you are a producer, you are a businessman, and you make a decision. It's a business decision.
And how many
It was a
relationships?
business decision.
How many relationships did that business decision break?
Oh, it broke quite a number of them, and but a lot were renewed.
Were they?
Yeah, the friendships were renewed with, you know, Sophie Ndaba, and a lot of others. The woman who does the Soapy Awards, and there were a number of them. Katie,
We knew her as Kitty.
yeah, and then, you know, when I was going through that stuff, like, it was rough for me as well. I mean, it was traumatic in a way. And I remember sitting in my office, and I got a visit from Connie Ferguson, and Connie told me that, no, if she's available, should I need her to move forward.
This is when all the other actors were out, and she said, I'm here.
She said, I'm here for you. I know you are going through a tough time. And I was.
Sure. What did that mean for the business, but also just for you personally? When you say you were going through the most, was your health affected? Was your family affected? Was the business completely affected?
No, my health was, I don't know, my health was not affected, no. I mean, my health was good.
We've agreed with the cast that they will have a 3-year contract, that they will be remunerated for the weeks they've been off work, and that all other outstanding issues will be sorted out with a deadline of March 2014.
How do you think things could have been handled? Are you happy with how that incident happened and transpired? And in hindsight,
No,
what do you think you could have done differently?
that was a tough thing. One doesn't, it was a divorce, you know, one does not like going through a divorce, you know, I mean, like, it's not pleasant, you know. And, but you see, the thing is this, that the reason that I crossed hands with them in such a major way was that they were fighting over a legitimate issue, which was royalties, but they were not being paid royalties and that kind of thing by the SABC. But Mfundi Vundla does not pay royalties. The royalties are paid by the SABC, not me. So what I found resentful was that they wanted me to go and fight that royalties battle for them. And I refused. I said, you fight your own battles. I have nothing to do with royalties. You go and fight your own battle, you know. And that was the crux of the thing. I just refused. We had a president, right, who abdicated his executive duties to foreign Indians who were thieves.
We're celebrating 30 years of our democracy. You came back before this democracy was actually born.
Yeah.
What is your message to South Africa in reflection of where we come from 30 years ago, where we are now, and where we are headed?
I'm not one of those people who will say that things were better under apartheid, but you hear people say that kind of stuff right now. And so I'm not one of those people, because progress has been made, but we could have done much, much more, and corruption set in and thieves got in, and we had a president, right, who abdicated his executive duties to foreign Indians who were thieves. And there was 10 years of waste going on in South Africa. And the ANC allowed this guy to do all that. I mean, even our current president was in there when this misguided person was destroying our country. They were there. They were supporting him. They created him. And until at some point they realized that he's an albatross, so they got rid of him. But he's coming back. He's coming back and he's giving them trouble. And, so in a way that the ANC failed us on that score. But to say that things have not improved, that's not true. There's been progress. I mean, when I was growing up, when I went to Fort Hare, the majority of the students at Wits are black now. When I was growing up, there were only 3 black students at Wits. 3. There were no black students at the University of Pretoria. There were no black students at the University of Cape Town. There were no black engineers, lawyers. So it's disingenuous to say that things have not improved. But having said that, there's been a lot of corruption happening, still corrupt. Young people have to wake up. But if at all, if there's any message, my message is like, young people are going to have to wake up, because the future is being stolen from them. That's my thing.
Is there anything left? Because I remember reading a book, Nothing Left to Steal, because sometimes politicians steal so much that by the time they're out, they want to be set for life. Is there anything left to fix? You talk about a president who came and destroyed, and the ANC allowed it. Is there hope?
Oh yeah, no. We can. South Africa is a very rich country. We can fix it up. Yeah, no.
What is it going to take to fix it up?
There's a lot of potential. This country is not a poor country. There's a lot of resources in this country. And the resources have just been mismanaged. That's the issue. We better get in people who know what they're doing there. I mean, like for instance, I was watching the Ekurhuleni council meeting last night, where councillors were throwing bottles at each other. There's nobody. Those guys who were in there, nobody can hire those people. I mean, if tomorrow they were to apply for jobs, nobody would want to hire those people. And those are people who are in there because they went to branch meetings. They were probably useless in school, most of them, non-achievers and that sort of thing. And I mean, that whole deployment stuff, like, you go to enough branch meetings, and the next thing you manage a budget of a municipality that's 30 billion. I mean, come on. gee, how irresponsible can you be?
Yeah, Johannesburg has a mayor who doesn't have matric. Johannesburg has the largest budget.
And then, like, and the Johannesburg is like falling apart, and you feel like crying, I mean, the Joburg, I grew up here, I was born here. And okay, it was a partly Joburg where I grew up, but the streets were clean, man.
Yeah. What are you writing now? Because I know creatives, the creative mind doesn't stop rolling.
No, I'm writing sort of like
A play?
A play about my life and some of the crazy things I used to do as a young person and growing up. Some of the fun things I did, and some of the political things I did. It's something I'm really enjoying writing it, and I'm playing a lot in that play.
That's great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch that play.
Yeah.
And good luck with it.
Okay, cool.
And thank you so much for welcoming us in your home.
Yeah.
And for chatting to us.
Yeah, I enjoyed this discussion.
Thank you very much.
Cool, man.
Yes.
Yeah.